Ys Origin was originally released in 2006 in Japan for computers, and didn't see a North American release until 2012. And now in 2017 it's making its debut on consoles here in North America with the PlayStation 4 release. But is this adventure as good as the other titles in the series, or is this one part of the story we just didn't need to know? Ys Origin takes place prior to any of the previous games in the Ys series, thus the name Ys Origin, and it doesn't star Adol Christian, the main character from the Ys series, in this title. Instead, there's two other playable heroes in Unica and Hugo. Basically, the story, without spoiling too much about it, is the two goddesses of Ys, Rhea and Athena, have gone missing in the Devil's Tower, and a group is setting off in order to try to find them. Two of the members of that group happen to be the characters you can play as in Unica and Hugo. When you begin your adventure, you'll have to select from one of the two characters, though there are a few unlockable characters that you can get once you're able to complete the game. Basically, Hugo is a more ranged attacker, where Unica uses an axe, at least to start, and is much more close-ranged. Ys Origin is very similar in design and look to some of the other later Ys titles, such as Ys 7 and the remake of Ys 3 known as Oath of Felghana. Keep in mind with the graphics, this game was from 2006, though I still think everything looks quite nice. And while it may not be full screen here, I still think everything still runs pretty smoothly here on the PS4. In fact, I didn't run into really any major glitching, though just a tiny bit of slowdown here and there. There was a few issues with the cutscenes themselves, though. There are a few movie-based cutscenes that end up playing out, and they seem to glitch, especially the opening one, where it left kind of borders on the top and bottom of the screen when it was transitioning, and the movie cutscenes themselves haven't been spruced up or anything, so they do look a little bit dated. While the gameplay remains largely unchanged from some of the previous games as far as the hack-and-slash action ends up going, you'll be able to beat up tons of enemies, gain experience, level up, you'll gain points instead of money in order to build up some of your particular skills, including upgrading armor pieces, as well as, of course, you'll be fighting plenty of epic bosses. There are some differences, though, from other games, in the fact that the whole game takes place within this tower, so there's no world map, there's no area outside the tower to explore, and thus there's no towns. Everything is handled within the tower itself. That doesn't necessarily mean that things are dull, though. The tower ends up changing up every few floors, and basically every couple of floors is its own dungeon. It contains mini-bosses and then final bosses for each of the particular areas, and when you make it to a new area, the entire kind of scheme changes. You'll go from a water-based one to a fire-based one to a sand-based one to, of course, a dark and gloomy death-filled one. Throughout your adventure, you're going to be running into other characters that are members of the same party that you are a member of, as well as, of course, some enemies, and find out what exactly is going on and what happened to the goddesses themselves. And you're able to travel throughout the tower to any of the save points you end up unlocking at any time. You get a crystal at the very beginning of the game, and this allows you the fast travel, which, of course, makes getting back and going through areas much, much easier, especially in a few times where you have to backtrack to a previous area, grab an item, and then return. This also allows you to get down to the first floor where you can do some upgrading. While you are going to find new armor and new boots throughout the course of the tower in order to increase your defense, to fix up your weapon, you're going to have to find ore. You get a few for free, but then you'll have to find it throughout the different tower levels, getting different ores from treasure chests, returning to the first floor, and then having your weapon upgraded that way. There are a few other elements that you will be gathering that will give you special skills, and of course you'll have to use certain elements against certain monsters in order to defeat them more easily. The thing that really shines for me, though, with Ys Origin is the boss battles themselves. The Ys series always has some great bosses, and there are some fantastic ones located here. And a lot of them are kind of throwbacks to bosses that we would end up seeing, technically in future games as far as the timeline were concerned, but in this case, of course, older games that we've previously played. If you've enjoyed a lot of the series like I have, there's a lot of little references and parts of the tower that you will easily recognize, or will have you pulling your hair out as it reminds you of the past. While the game isn't necessarily the longest in the series, it will take you roughly between 6 to 8 hours in order to complete it initially, though there are 4 different difficulties to choose from. If you're a veteran, of course you're going to want to go in right away on either hard or the nightmare difficulty, though if you're a newcomer, you may want to stick to the lower ones. There's a time trial in Boss Rush that you'll also be able to unlock once you complete the game, and of course a couple of unlockable characters, including a very popular fan favorite. And while there are the 2 playable characters, the game's story mostly progresses the same. Cutscenes are a little bit different, some of the interactions with the characters will be changed up, but as far as the tower's progression goes, it's pretty much the same with each character that you end up picking. So even though there are multiple playable characters, it doesn't really change the core game all that much. Ys Origin is available on the PlayStation 4 for $19.99. It features a full trophy list, including a Platinum trophy. Ys Origin may not be the best in the series, nor is it my particular favorite, but it's still another standout title. If you like action RPGs, or if you're an Ys fan that some reason hasn't checked out this game, it's well worth checking out. It doesn't have any added bells or whistles to this particular version from the past versions that we have played if you played it on PC, and it has a few differences as far as the series is concerned. Being all contained in the tower may be a little bit of a put-off to some, but the core gameplay is still a lot of fun. For me, I'm just happy we're getting a release of the Ys series on the PlayStation 4, and I can't wait to play Ys 8 when it ends up coming out in the relatively near future. In the end, I'm going to be giving this game an 8 out of 10. But anyway guys, that's going to wrap up this review. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoy.